in turn will cause them. That's what the fa is there for. فَيَسُبُّ اللَّهِ. And that's why it's there the noon is removed, because it's in a nasb condition. So it's mansuba, and for those that are interested in the grammar of it. فَيَسُبُّ اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. They will in turn curse Allah adwan, out of aggression or animosity, بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ, without any knowledge. They will do it unknowingly. كَذَلِكَ زَيَّنَّا لِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ عَمَلَهُمْ. And like that, we have deemed good. Zayyan is to make something zayn, to make it look good or nice. We have made it look good to every ummah, their actions. عَمَلَهُمْ ثُمَّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ مَرْجِعُهُمْ فَيُنَبِّئُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. And to your Lord will be your return, your marja', the place you return, your returning place. فَيُنَبِّئُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. And He will, at that place, inform you about what they were doing. Like Allah is letting us know He's going to explain what they were doing. So if you look at this, these verses are very important. In fact, in the Maliki madhab, there's something called sadd al-dharaya, which is cutting off pretexts. So for instance, there are certain things that in and of themselves are not haram, but because they lead to the haram, they can have the hukum of haram. So al-wasilatu ila al-haram sometimes is muharrama. I mean, not always, it depends. This is something the fuqaha work out. But the point is that sadd al-dharaya is to prevent something happening that's haram. So in this case, in this verse, we're being told, do not curse the idols. And this is what our mufassirun say. Ibn Juzay al-Kalbi, in his famous work Tasheel, he says that those who call on other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the idols. He actually says that they are the idols. So it's not the mushrikeen themselves. Don't curse the mushrikeen. It's saying don't curse their idols. And that is how they explain it. So وَلَا تَسُبُّ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أي لا تسبوا آلهتهم فيكون ذلك سببا لأن يسب الله, because you will make it a cause for them cursing Allah. So you've actually caused it. And Ibn Juzay says استدل المالكية بهذا على سد ذرائع. So this is the ayah that they prove. In fact, somebody back in 2001, one of the things I said about burning flags was that we should not burn, Muslims should not burn, like sometimes they take the American flag and stomp on it or burn the American flag, that they shouldn't do these things because it's min bab sadd al-dharaya. And then I used this ayah, and somebody who didn't understand usul al-fiqh said, oh, he's saying they consider the flag an idol. And that wasn't my point. My point is that this is min bab sadd al-dharaya. So these are unfortunate. I mean, it's a tough time to speak because there's so many geniuses out there, and they just understand things that you don't understand, and so they end up. It's really a tough time. There's an argument for just not speaking anymore, and I've been tempted by that. I keep getting. As they say, every time you try to get out, they pull you back in. So, but the people around me say, no, you have to keep teaching and doing these things. So may Allah forgive us for any of the mistakes, because I've certainly made some mistakes. But our hope is that we never make big mistakes, major mistakes. We're always going to make some mistakes just by being human. And the more you talk, the more likely you are to make mistakes. So the point here, though, is that these ayahs are really about the mushrikeen, that we're being told essentially that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows them to do their shirk. and tells us not to curse their idols, and tells us that it's actually Allah who has made this appear good to them. It's because very often in the Quran it says zuyyina. It's put in the passive. But here Allah could have put it in the passive tense. Zuyyina lahum amaluhum. He could have said that. But he clearly says, كَذَلِكَ زَيَّنَّا لِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ. We have made every nation deem their own actions good. And this is why it's very difficult for people to understand how, for instance, in the United States, there are many things that our country does that are horrific and wrong. But most Americans actually say, they think, oh no, we always have good intentions. So collateral damage is unfortunate, but we don't mean to do that. It's just an unfortunate externality of it. These are the type of things, but every nation thinks that what they're doing is good. This is the way Allah has made it. And that's why most people are actually deluded. And so self-delusional states are part of human psychology. And this is why it's quite terrifying, because you don't want to be amongst those. Allah is telling us, do not be deluded. There are many verses in the Quran warning us about falling into delusional states, about thinking that you really understand things. We all have blind spots. There's even a physical blind spot in your eye, and doctors will actually test your blind spot, like an ophthalmologist. But there are physical blind spots, and every human being has blind spots. And that's why your brothers and your sisters are very often the best sources to help you understand your own self. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-mu'minu mir'atul mu'min. The believer is the mirror of the believer. Well, what do we use a mirror for? There's basically two things that mirrors are used for fundamentally. For vain and narcissistic people, they're used to admire themselves. But for healthy people, they're used to rectify their actual physical state. So in other words, before you go out, you look in the mirror to make sure that you don't look ridiculous, like your hair might be sticking up. And the Prophet ﷺ himself, who could have never looked other than perfect, but the Prophet ﷺ used to look in a mirror before he went out. And Aisha asked him about that because she didn't understand. He said, my Lord commanded me to do this. In other words, to present yourself. And this is why traditionally Muslims always dressed well. The Prophet did not like disheveled hair. He actually took good care of his hair. He used oil in it. In fact, they said that his collar was like the collar of somebody who worked in oil, because there was always, he used olive oil in his hair. In some, like in South Asia, they use ghee in the hair, but he took care of his hair and combed it. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He did not like disheveled hair. And one time a man came in from the Najd with very disheveled hair, and he said, and he didn't call him out personally, but he said, do people come into my majlis looking like a demon? So that's something like demons don't take care of themselves. But the point is that the mirror is to rectify yourself. And so the believer helps his brother or sister see their faults. And that's why your companion, if like your spouse or whoever it is, they should point those things out to you in the best way. And if you have the spiritual fortitude, you'll actually take that and be thankful to that person. Like if somebody tells you, I think that was arrogant, what you said, or I think that's a good friend. They say, as-sadiq ma sadaqak. Your friend is the one who's honest with you. And people that are obsequious or people that flatter you, those aren't your friends. And very often behind your back, it'll be quite different. So that's really an important thing to remember, that we can fall into delusional states very, very easily.